Hi there, we're back. It's Deborah, and we're about to have a look at boundaries in relationships. Quick summary of our priorities in relationships. So, the first one is our spiritual priority, and that is to ourselves. That's our relationship to ourselves, to God, the universe, the quality of the relationship that you have with you first. Then it's your partner, your spouse, your husband, your wife. Then it's your children, and then family, work and business, and then all others outside of that. So just look at that in this context when I go through this next section of boundaries. So I want to show you an example with boundaries for what I mean. So if we can look at this as parent one, and this is parent two, and child one, and child two. And in any relationship or any family dynamic, there is a bond that is between the mum and the dad or the two parents. And this bond is palpable between in the whole relationship dynamic. Then there's a connection between the children with each parent, so the husband and the wife, the mother and the father. Then there's a connection between each child and each parent as well. And around the family is another energy field. It's like the bond around a family. It's actually called an etheric body around the family. And what that does is hold the family unit. And ways that you can actually build this bond to do things together. For instance, kicking a football or a soccer ball, going on adventures together, going for walks together, playing board games or cards together, doing things that it's just you for, if there's just four of you in your family, so that you're creating a bond between you. Anything that creates an energy that goes from one person to the other is going to create an energetic bond around you. We have outside of that family unit, we have all others. So we have all the other people in our lives, maybe work colleagues, it may be other family members, great good friends, any other people that aren't in your family unit are all outside of this family boundary. Now, what can sometimes happen, and this often happens when the relationship between the mother and the father or the two parents is challenged, that one of the couple will build a bond with somebody outside, and that's usually starts off in the way of a confidant, so someone that you talk to, someone that you're sharing your heartfelt troubles, someone that you're talking about your relationship to. Or it could be a work colleague that you are being shown interest in, someone who's offering you support, someone who's showing you care and affection. And I'm not talking about necessarily physical affection. It could just be someone spending the time to ask you, how are you? How was your day? How was your weekend? And there's a connection that goes on between you. Now, what often happens here is this connection that goes on between these two people starts to actually fill this person's needs on a deeper level. And when that happens, their energy will start to flow between these two. Now, this is what happens when affairs happen in a relationship. Now, when that's happening, obviously this person over here is going to feel that there's something going on between them, because this is no longer the connection that they have. So this person often can be a little crazy about what's going on. They can be challenging their partner, asking a lot of questions, pushing, poking and prodding to try and reconnect with them. What that tends to do is to create more disconnection between these two, and actually pushes this person towards this person. And then you have the cycle of affairs and relationships breaking down where there's a third person involved. This doesn't necessarily have to be a love relationship that this can happen with. It can be a mate. It can be a activity like sport. I often hear women saying that they're becoming a golfing widow, or the husband saying, my wife's always out with her girlfriends. Same type of a scenario when it's almost like there's an extra person in the relationship, and this can be very, very destructive. So what we want to do to be able to protect your family unit and your relationship and your marriage is that you need to keep the boundary around your family unit really, really strong. And that means the way that you do that is by having your priorities in the correct order and taking action towards keeping those priorities in the correct order, and that also will hold your family boundary in place, the family unit in place. So how do you do that? That's by putting the effort in to keep the connection alive between the two of you. So one of the ways that we've already discussed is your date night or your date day or date breakfast, whichever that you choose to have each week. That is going to be one way that you're going to put a boundary and a protection around your relationship and your family unit if you have children. It's where your focus is that matters. So it's you always making sure that your partner is high priority in your list of priorities in your world, and that you are taking action towards that and letting your partner know that they are important to you and that your family is important. The way that you also hold the family unit really strong is by having dinner time each day together. If your children are young, all coming together and eating at the table. Some of the good old-fashioned things that we used to do is to eat a meal together, and that creates the unity in the family bond again. Doing things together as a family, like I've mentioned, playing games or having outings and activities together. And I recommend that every weekend you do something with your family that creates connection, that does not involve another family. It doesn't have to be all day. It can just be an hour or two. It could just be playing a board game or reading a story together or sitting in the sunshine, talking, having a little picnic somewhere. Any kind of activity that brings the family unit together. And if you make a conscious effort and you make this as one of your family traditions, you will always create a really strong and healthy bond within the family environment. Now, looking at this dynamic a little deeper when a third person gets involved in a relationship, I want to share with you now the drama triangle, the Karpman dreaded drama triangle, DDT, which is obviously a poison, is a very apt name for this because this is really, really destructive dynamic that goes on in relationships. And when I share this with you, you will see that you have experienced this, I'm sure, many, many times in your life, not just in your love relationships, but in your friendships and in your family, if you have brothers and sisters, in your family dynamic, you will definitely have experienced this. This is a very, very toxic and dangerous process that goes on in families. So once you become consciously aware of it, you're able to then transform it. It's when you don't know what's going on and you're in it that is very, very destructive to your relationships. So let me just share with you what that's about. So the first role in a DDT, or the drama triangle, is the persecutor. And the second role is the victim. And the third role is the rescuer. So these three roles are always going to be in the process. Now, the persecutor is someone who appears to be superior, and that might be in their nature, the way they behave. They can be aggressive. They can come across as being quite angry and judgmental of others. They can often be grumpy and very critical, and can feel like they're controlling, very controlling of others. They tend to blame others, and they can be very passive aggressive. They tend to have a way of being that discounts others, puts others down, makes others wrong. The victim personality or role tends to be passive. So they tend to feel less than someone else, feel helpless, or, they have the poor me persona. They feel very disempowered in their relationship. They can often be dependent and feel quite stuck, like they don't know which way to turn. They feel helpless and powerless. They often are very needy, and they're often wanting compliments. They're wanting people to fix things for them. It's like they hand their power over. And the victim personality will actually discount themselves. So they often can put themselves down. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm not good enough. I'll never be able to do that, are the kinds of things that they would say. And incidentally, a persecutor will often use the words you did this, you did that, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, etc. And then the rescuer is someone who wants to genuinely cares about people, but they have this persona of wanting to save others, wanting to be helpful and kind to others, but often they're over helpful. So what they do is disempower people by being over helpful. They're not selfless. They often feel worthy and good enough by helping and supporting others, often very supportive people, and they are great friends to have on one level, but they are also someone who tends to be a fixer, and they can kind of behave as though they're, oh, poor you. So if you're in the victim role, you're like, poor me. Well, they're going, oh yes, poor you. And they tend to need to be needed. And when they feel needed, they feel worthy and they feel good enough. They feel like they're doing a good job and they're making a contribution. They're often self-sacrificing, so they will put others before their own needs, and they discount the other person's ability to fix the issue or the problem themselves. So if you just take a little snapshot in your mind here and think about all of these roles, we have all played every single one of these roles at some point or another in our relationships. We've all been the persecutor, we've all played the victim, and we've all been the rescuer. What's really important is to note that whichever role you're playing, there is a negative side to it that is very destructive. So an example of what this may look like in a relationship scenario. So let's say the husband and the wife have been having a very difficult time, and the wife's feeling very put upon, very criticized by her husband, very unhappy in the relationship. And so the husband in that scenario would be the persecutor, doing lots of arguing and fighting, and the husband is displaying all of these characteristics. The wife would be playing the victim. So she's feeling, passive, feeling less than, disempowered, possibly dependent on her husband, so feeling stuck and needy. So what she does is goes and talks to a girlfriend or to somebody else, and starts to then talk to this person about the husband's behavior. And so then the rescuer then listens and tries to help her, perhaps give her suggestions, tries to help to fix the relationship. But in actual fact, The rescuer can never fix the relationship because the issue is between the husband and wife. So in this scenario, the persecutor and the victim. So the only two people that have power to actually transform what's going on is the husband and the wife, or the persecutor and the victim. So what it is, it's a lose-lose situation. It's a vicious cycle and it becomes very, very toxic. It fills your life with drama, and also which can become addictive, and also it is very, very destructive to your relationship and the connection within your relationship. So ask yourself, which role do you play or have you played? Is there one of these roles that you identify with and you can see that you have been playing that role in your relationship? Is there one of these roles that you have been playing with your partner, with your children, and in your friendships? And you may find that they will be different. So you could be playing, say, for instance, the victim with your partner, but then with your children, they could perceive you as the persecutor, and they could be playing the victim. And in your friendships, perhaps if you're having an issue with a friend, then they could see you as the persecutor and they play the victim, and then go off and talk to somebody else and find themselves a rescuer. You can see this dynamic happening all the time. So just use this to understand yourself better so that you can actually consciously go, oh, okay, I'm playing the victim right now. And then I'm going to show you in a moment how to step out of that and how to transform it. Become having a deeper understanding of yourself and the dynamics that you're playing in your relationships. So one of the questions you want to ask yourself is, how was I feeling before this happened, before I got into this drama triangle? Because that's actually going to give you some information about what it was that you didn't deal with. The drama triangle is like where you circumnavigate around the real issue and obviously create drama to avoid dealing with the real issue. When was the last time that you received positive recognition for yourself, from yourself, and also from your partners? And how can you start assertively asking for what you need? Are there questions you want to ask yourself? So what I want to share with you is how to transform this, and that's called the winner's triangle. So there is the assertive role, there's the vulnerable role, and then there's the nurturing role. The persecutor, the new role would be to be assertive. The victim's new role would be to be vulnerable, and then the rescuer's new role would be to be nurturing. So let's have a look at those at a deeper level. So when you're being assertive, you know your own feelings, you know where you're at, you know what's going on for yourself, and you're non-judgmental of another, and you use I statements. So you know that when you're speaking to another, you're going to own how you're feeling, and you're going to be self-responsible about the way that you are dealing with things that are going on in your relationship. And you be accountable for the way that you are treating your partner or others in your world. And you're also accountable for your actions, for your mistakes, and also equally so for your repair. You're willing to listen. You're willing to listen to your partner or to whoever it is that you have in your world at the time. And you're also willing to accept the other's value and the other's point of view. So you're looking upon your partner as having true value and having a true point of view. Then there's the vulnerable space, which is where you're willing to share your real feelings and that you self-soothe and nurture your inner self, and that you will accept self-responsibility. So by that, you will empower yourself to be able to transform, to take responsibility, to use your courage, and you accept yourself as you are, and that you are a powerful person who can fix and transform anything in your own life, and that you don't need someone else to fix it for you. And then the nurturing person is still caring, kind, and helpful, but they only help when they're asked, and they help with understanding. They're compassionate and kind, and they don't need to be needed because they are full within their own selves. They know that they are worthy. They know that they are enough without needing to rescue somebody else. They have clear boundaries, so they're willing to say yes or no, and then hold that boundary. If they're going to say, I'm sorry, I'm not able to help you, you need to deal with that yourself, then to actually hold that boundary and to be really clear with it. They don't get too involved. So they allow the two people that are in the drama triangle to work it out themselves. And in fact, they'd actually refer the vulnerable person back to their partner, the assertive one, to try to transform and work out what is going on. They accept that another has the ability to solve their own issues. So what this looks like as an example then is if someone who was playing the victim role previously, if a wife was going to a girlfriend and complaining about the husband being the persecutor, then the rescuer would take on the nurturing role of being caring and kind and listening and understanding, though she would have clear boundaries about not getting involved and accepting and letting the other person know that they have the ability to solve their own problems, that they can go and talk to their partner and work it out between their partner, and empower them to go do that. And then the wife, who needed to step into the vulnerable role, then went and spoke to her husband and said, I'm feeling really upset and I'm feeling hurt, and that I really would like for us to have a deeper connection. Then the husband would be assertive about his own feelings as well, and share those with his wife. So I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling upset, I'm feeling like we don't have much connection, we don't have a lot of intimacy, I'd really want to be closer to you. And then in that process, they are able to start to transform what's going on, and there's no third person in their relationship. What also can happen is that these roles can switch. So as an example, if you have a husband and wife who is having difficulty and the wife is talking to the girlfriend, then the husband and wife get back together and they're happy and everything's lovely and joyful. Often they can then turn on the friend, and the friend will now become the persecutor. And that could look like, well, she said that I should do X to her husband, and then the husband gets angry with the friend. And these roles can switch very, very easily, and I'm sure you've seen this happen in some of your relationships. It's a really powerful dynamic. It's very, very destructive. But it's also really great for you to have a conscious awareness of whenever there's three at play, often you can find yourself in a drama triangle, and the way to step out of it is to do one of these behaviors. So being assertive, being nurturing, or being vulnerable, depending on what role you're playing in the drama triangle, and move into the winner's triangle. So what this creates when you both are in conscious awareness of the drama triangle and having strong boundaries around your relationship with each other, around your family, what it creates is truly meaningful relationships. It creates truly meaningful relationships that are drama free. that you feel like you're really important to your partner. You feel valued and cared for by your partner. It creates deeper connection and safety in your relationship, which when you feel safe in your relationship, it builds trust. And when you have trust in your relationship, you know that you've got each other's backs. You know that you both feel loved. You both feel secure. You have inner peace and security within, and you feel good about you as a partner, but you also feel good about you as a role model in your relationships for your children. So, how is it for your children when you have quality boundaries in your relationship? They feel safe and they feel secure. Kids are usually happier and more relaxed and confident within themselves, and often better behaved when they have quality role models with their parents. So, how can you implement this into your life? This is another strategy that you may have seen out in the workplace, and it's called above the line, below the line. So the thinking behind this is when we are in our daily lives, we're either playing one or two roles. We're either playing life below the line, and if we are, then we would be behaving like a victim. And some of the behaviors that victims usually display is playing the blame game, being full of excuses, in denial about their part or the role that they're playing, and they can often be quite defensive. And the disempowered language that a victim will use is I have to, I can't, I must, and if only. So I have to do this, or I can't do that. I can't leave the children at home, or I can't do whatever it is that I want to do. And what happens is their life often will be filled with drama. There'll be a lot of problems. They'll feel stuck, and they'll be waiting for something to happen, waiting for things to get better. This is a great quote by the late Wayne Dyer. All blame is a waste of time. No matter how much fault you find with another, and regardless of how much you blame them, it will not change you. The other way that you can play life is above the line, and that's where you would be a leader. You would be operating as a leader in life, and the role of a leader is that they take ownership. They are accountable for their actions, and they take responsibility for their actions. And the empowered language that they use is that I choose to, I prefer to, I will, or I can. And there's a totally different energy that's attached to that. Now, above the line leadership people will look for choice. They'll have solutions. They'll be action and results focused. So they will be wanting to create ways of creating solutions and taking action on a daily basis. And this quote from Jim Rohn is, you must take personal responsibility. You cannot change the circumstances, the seasons, or the wind, but you can change yourself. This is something you have charge of. It's so true. So this is a great one for you to have around the house. Print it out and laminate it if you can, and have it around the house to remind you. And if you find yourself having a challenging time in life, you can just look at this and ask yourself the question, where am I playing life right now? Am I playing life below the line, or am I playing life above the line? And then switch into the leadership qualities. So take ownership, take accountability and responsibility for whatever's going on, for your part in it. Change your language so that you're using empowered language, and look for choice solutions and take action, and you will find that your life and your relationships will start to transform. So I want to share with you a book by David Emerald, which is called The Power of TED. And he's This book is a story about the empowerment dynamic, which is a add-on to the Karpman drama triangle that I've just shared with you. It's a great book, it's a simple read, and it's written in story form so it's easy to understand. And in this book, he has 3 vital questions that you can ask yourself. One is, where am I putting my focus? So where is my focus with this situation now? Is it focused on the negative, or is it focused on the positive? Is it focused on the solution, or is it focused on building more drama? If you're building more drama and you're putting energy into that, then that's what you're going to get more of. Whereas if you switch and you say, okay, how can I solve this? What is the solution to this problem? And you start to move towards the solution, changing your behavior, taking ownership, then you will find that will also transform. So number 2 is ask yourself, how am I relating to myself, to others, and to my environment? How am I relating? How am I showing up? Am I operating in the victim personality traits, or am I operating as a leader? How are you showing up? And then the third is, what kind of action am I taking? Am I taking daily action steps to transforming my relationship? Am I taking small actions? Do you remember earlier on in Module 1, we talked about small actions made often transform and make big change over time. So there'll be a link for you if you would like to purchase yourself this book. If not, that's okay. There's lots on YouTube you can have a look at. But know that the drama triangle is a very, very toxic dynamic. And if you find that it's going on, come back and review this video and you'll see how you start to transform it. So remember, holding the boundary around your relationship and then around your family is paramount. And if you find that you have a connection with somebody, or there is somebody that is the third person within your relationship or a third entity in your relationship, start to put boundaries down. And you can say to that person, you know what, I need to spend some one-on-one time with my partner or my wife, my husband. I really value my relationship. I really value our connection, and I need to put some focus and some energy in there. Thank you so much for your support. And letting them know too, because never underestimate that they too will be receiving some connection and some of your energy and focus if they are in that position in your relationship. So we're going to move on now. So looking forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great day.